Hello, I'd like to bring this Ways and Means Committee meeting to order Tuesday, September 4th at about 4:03 p.m. Deanne, will you take a roll call, please?
Yes. Lutz?
Yes.
Duranzik?
Here.
Krieger?
Yes.
Begay?
Here.
Kunin?
Here.
Ryder?
Here.
Harris?
Here.
Quorum present.
Okay, we have minutes of 6/5/18. What is your pleasure?
So moved. Approved. Support.
We have a motion and support. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, aye?
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Next, we give the opportunity for public input. All those in representing the public can come forward, or anybody really, if you want to. You can be an employee, we'll let you know. Okay. Going on to petitions and communications. They're all shy. Under A, we have the Bay County Sheriff, the agreement with shared costs for the road patrol deputy services in Frankenlust and Kawkawlin Townships.
Motion approved. Support.
We have a motion and support. Any discussion? Sheriff's here. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Same sign. Motion carries. Next, we have the East Michigan Council of Governments, a letter of support for the 2019 grant funding. What is your support?
So support.
We have a motion and support. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Next, under the Health Department, we have the Health Officer, the amendment to grant funds for 2018 DEQ surface water quality monitoring. What is your pleasure on that one?
So moved. Support.
We have a motion and support. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Next, we have the Environmental Health Manager, the acceptance of the Nonpoint Source Program grant funding. What is your pleasure on that?
Support.
We have a motion and support. Yes, Commissioner Coonan. Which Joel do you want?
Bring them up.
Okay, they'll come up as a team.
Now, reading that information, and it's good that we're getting money for the non-point source, because we know that that's where most of the pollution comes from, is non-point source versus point. Everybody thinks it's this wastewater treatment plants. Do we have a program, or do we have a plan that we are going to address using this money to try to find out where some of this pollution is coming from?
It's actually a very detailed plan. In the grant itself, in the process of writing the grant, it's all laid out over a 3-year period on exactly what we do when. And I didn't bring a PowerPoint or anything with me today, but one thing I wanted to offer is anybody interested, commissioners or employees of the county, I could put together, I already have some already, but put together a PowerPoint and go through the details of how the grant starts, finishes, what the resulting product will be.
Sounds good. So whenever this grant is ended in 3 years, will you be able to see something that has been done that really hasn't been done yet?
Yeah, actually, so to kind of put it all in a nutshell, the grant will map, and it says Kawkawlin River watershed, but it'll actually map the entire county. So we're going to take 11,000 paper records, give them to Amalgam Company out of Mount Pleasant. They'll map or scan every single file we have, all 11,000+ maps or files. Anything that can be mapped will be mapped into the system. If it's an old file, say from the 50s or 60s, it'll be scanned in. There will still be a data point. And what this is a map that will be available for everybody, the entire public, where they can open it up on a cell phone, a tablet, or a computer and see virtually where every septic system and well exists within Bay County. Anything that's unknown, any unmapped parcels, any parcels we don't have permits on within the Kawkawlin River watershed, we will go out and make physical visits to those homes and map those sites so we know the unknowns. And we will choose areas that are closest to the river, closest to main drains, and we'll work our way out as far as we can within that 3-year period. And then once the grant comes to a close, we're going to continue to map. Anything that's unknown, we plan to continue mapping that until we have someday 100% of the county mapped. And this project, by the way, once it's done in this 3-year period, will be the first of its kind anywhere in the country. There's nothing like this anywhere. The closest I found is down in Georgia. They have some proprietary software and they did some partial mapping of septic systems, but it doesn't come close to what we're going to do here. So the DEQ would like to see us present as the health department to the entire district and beyond. They're very excited about this. They were happy to offer the grant to us. It's going to offer some tools that will be completely, you know.
I got one last question. I know what authority do you have if you find something?
So we will come to, let's say you live out in Kawkawlin Township, and we come out and we find out that you have a failed septic system, and it's bleeding on top of the ground. We have authority through the public health code and our sanitary code to issue violation notice and basically force you to correct the problem. However, it may be from a repair to full replacement or connection to municipal if it's available. So we plan on finding problems, and we know we are, and we will address them. And that's all in the grant as far as the details of the grant, what we do when we find problems and how we address those.
Thank you, Joe.
Yeah.
Commissioner Krieger.
So to go hand in hand with what Kim just asked, my question was, how do we enforce, are we going to issue them a ticket if they're in violation? In what, I'm assuming we're going to send some kind of notice to a resident saying, we're from the health department, we'd like to come on your property and,
Yep.
and check your septic field.
Yep.
And if they say, no way, now what do we do?
Well, the grant starts out where U of M Flint sends out questionnaires. They send out to a percentage of everybody within the Kawkawlin River watershed area. It outlines what the grant is about, what we're doing, that we plan on visiting properties and mapping their properties. There'll be a link on a website. There will be flyers sent out, so.
And that's all good to say, but you got the 78-year-old, yeah, well, I was gonna say not with a shotgun, but let's just say he is as anti-established as possible, and maybe he knows he's not legal, and he just says, this is private property. It's posted, it says right there, no trespassing, especially if you're with the government. What do we do? I mean,
Well,
how much-
we wouldn't step foot on that property
Okay.
to start with. If we suspected a problem, we would call our prosecuting attorney's office and ask them about it.
Okay.
We have yet, in 25 years I've done this, to have to get a warrant to enter a property.
Yeah, but now I mean, we talked
But-
about this grant a number of years ago, and hats off to you guys for getting it and getting this all set up so that we can have some accountability. I mean, nobody around us has ever done it. I mean, this is another plus for Bay County. But because nobody's ever done it before, you're gonna run into these people that are just gonna say, you're not allowed on my property, and that's the end of the story.
Yeah, we expect that.
We fully expect a certain amount of reticence from folks that don't know what they have on their property and may think that we're going to come in there and either A, kick them out of their house, which we're not going to do.
Yeah, because these people don't have computers, notebooks, cell phones,
They
and
may
the
not
last,
have the means.
the last flyer they received goes into that round barrel at the end of the
Right.
table.
They may not have the means to do anything about it, but the key thing that we want to do with this grant is to educate homeowners about their septic systems. A lot of people have no knowledge of how their septic system works, or where their septic system is. And so part of it is going to be an education component to it, and also to let them know that, you know, in essence, they are operating a very, very small miniature version of a sewage plant in their backyard.
Will there be funding available for these people if they need financing to be able to put a new field in?
There's funding under the 504 program, which we get people in contact with the Carroll office under, it's like the old weatherization program. You need doors, windows, a roof. Well, they also do septic systems. And if you're 62 or older, you own your home, they actually are offering $7,500 grants, one-time grants. And they also offer low-interest loans. They have a cap on income, however, it's not a hard cap. They still help people, and if somebody has a failed system, they're trying to make ends meet, there are opportunities out there.
Okay.
And as a matter of fact, the guy that was just on TV5 said he didn't have water. I don't know if any of you saw that. Did anybody see the TV5 clip?
Yeah,
So,
we work here. We didn't get a chance to watch TV.
no. But I saw it at 6:30 in the morning, getting ready for work. This
Exactly.
gentleman is on TV5 and he says, I don't have water, I haven't had water. Well, then we find out it's in Bay County. So I went to his house with the grant program information. He wasn't home. I left my card, I left the information in his door. He called me back 30 minutes later. He says, hey, I found this paperwork, and I highlighted on there the $7,500 grant. I contacted the Carroll office and asked them about it. And he says, well, I already had people come out to help me to pay to get hooked up to municipal water. But he says, this looks like it's too good to be true. I said, well, how old are you? He's like 67. He owns his home. Everything is right. He's okay. But he called me again. He says, again, I think this is too good to be true. People don't just hand you money. What's the catch? I said, you have to stay in your home for 3 years. That's the catch. After that, there's none. It's free money. And it is, if you're over 62, if you own your home. So there is money available out there.
Wonderful.
Now, if you make $65,000 a year, I'm just pulling a number out of the air, you're twice or more of what the income cap is, and you can't afford your septic system, well, those are the people we may not be able to help because they may have to go to the bank for a loan. And we're not out to kick people out of their homes. And we find problems, we work with people. We send out violation notices with correction dates. A lot of those correction dates go beyond that, and we work with people, we help them. I'm not out there to be a problem, I'm trying to be a solution. But we're hopefully there to help them first and then, enforce the law second. So we don't intend to go out and force ourselves onto people's properties, and if somebody says, get off my property, there's a no trespassing sign, we don't enter the property. If there's a gun at the door or somebody's hand, yeah, okay, have a nice day. We're not going to press that. So we hope to enter most people's property if we have no information, find out what they have, map that out.
So my last question, with this now being new and we have this money, are we going to be able to put this program together with the personnel that we already have? Do you foresee having to come back with the budget saying, well, I need an extra person to pull this off, or are we good to go with the personnel we have?
To start, we will be doing it with the personnel we have. We may use college interns, which can be free. It's free work. We send them out for 2 to 3 months with the GPS, some training. They do some basic mapping. They have to be trained. We send them out to do what they can do. We still got to look at the legalities of them driving a county car and doing what they're doing, and we'll be talking to you about that. But for the most part, a lot of it is done in-house. I will do it, Deb Socher and Zach Shading, the staff. During our normal travels, we will go out and map a lot of these unknowns on our own time. That's part of the cost factor in the grant when you look at where the money comes from. A lot of it is stuff we already do. There will be new tools that are built into the Fetch program, which I'd love to show you guys. It isn't in our version yet. The tools are done at Amalgam. They haven't sent them over to us, but we'll be able to do assessments on these systems and create a risk analysis. So we can take all the systems once they're mapped in and create a risk analysis from 1 to 5 in a colored chart or in graphs, however we want to display it, on what systems are at greatest risk for failure? Which ones do we really need to go out and look at first and last? How close are they to the river? How old are they? There's operation and maintenance forms built in. The program actually does even more than we could probably even tap into. But the tools are there. We'll have everything mapped within 3 years, other than some unknowns in the outlying areas in Bay County, we can't map every single thing, but we'll map as much as
So
we
if I'm
can.
from hearing what you're saying, we're good to go with the personnel that we have.
Yes.
Very
I think
good.
the only danger that we would ask for more personnel is if the state passes this sanitary code with unfunded mandates.
And that could happen. Okay.
And that's been rewritten again. So it's different again.
Thank you.
Commissioner Ryder.
Do we have a policy today for a failed system? Do we have a policy today for systems that, and I'm assuming every 5 years, that they need to be cleaned, right? Or when they sell the property and someone buys that property, the records, because that's probably a lot of the places where, we lost track of what happened with sales of homes or anything. We have no records. So is there a policy, a formal policy for the failed systems and the systems and tracking them in the future, not just mapping on what we have today, but, for future, anytime somebody sells, we.
Right.
So the answer to that question right now is with the sanitary code that's currently in place, anytime that there's a failure, and that failure basically means that you have sewage coming out to the ground. It's mandated by our local ordinance and pretty much state regulations that a person is required to replace that septic system. We don't have a point of sale program here in Bay County. We have talked about that before. And I also alluded to the sanitary code or the statewide sanitary code. As it is currently written and introduced into the legislature, the point of sale programs would be banned from the state of Michigan. We would not be allowed to do that. There is some talk about doing some regularly scheduled inspections on a 5 to 10 year basis or even more. We have written that into another version of our sanitary code and update of that. And it's also, I believe it's part of the new statewide sanitary code that's been introduced. But, there's a lot of caveats in that. I can see that, as I stated to Commissioner Krieger, that the state would now start to require that in lieu of having a point of sale inspection program. But they're not going to give us any more money to do that.
So
So-
is the policy, the code that we have today?
Yes.
And in that code that we have today, it says that those failed systems need to be replaced. Does it give a time portion? Does it, how long can that go on? And that's what I'm asking about, is that if there's some policy that it can't go on beyond drop dead day, right?
30
You give this person 30 days and this person takes a year. And sooner or later, you got problems because, then they start throwing up their hands and going.
I would say that about 90% of people comply within 30 days. And for simple reasons that they want to be able to use their bathrooms,
Sure, you would think.
showers, or they don't want to have the pool of septic waste in their backyard. We run into an occasional problem where we get someone that, because of either poverty or they just don't have the means to replace it, that we will often work with them. And when you're working with them, by the time that you get a loan approval, whether it's from USDA or DEQ or FDA or whomever, that usually takes about 2 to 3 months at the very least, and sometimes up to 6.
So what's up? Is it got to be doubling up? Or, hey, it's going right into the call, or it's.
That's a good question.
But how do we determine, how do we know that if it's not bubbling up, if it's not a visual sight, how do we know that that system isn't going right into the call or the Saginaw backyard? How do we know that? You're going to go do an inspection, right?
Sure.
And is it just a visual inspection, or do you go in within the house and you do some flushes and you look how things drain? How do you do that and make sure that system, you only want to go out there once.
So it's it might be a long answer, but I can answer your question. So if I came to your house to do an evaluation, you have a septic system. First thing I'll ask is, can I go into your basement or look in your crawl space? I'm looking for illicit connections. Where do all your pipes go? Do they go to the septic tank? Do they go to the sump pump? What goes to the sump pump? Your kitchen sink might go in there. Is that going to the ditch? Well, there's a point source pollution right there. I know what it is and where it's going. There's one violation. I see 2 pipes going out of your house. One goes into a septic tank. I go outside, I start looking, I find that septic tank. The other pipe, can't find a tank. We can look in the yard, beyond the yard, we start probing. We use tile probes. It's physical work. We go out and probe and probe and probe and look for tiles, septic tanks, drain fields, trenches, cradle drains, whatever it may be, and we start tracing those. And we look at surrounding ditches, farm fields. We can look at aerial photos. Actually, with this program, we can do what's called layer swiping. Look at the 2015 to 2010 to 2005 and see colorations. We can see all the farm tiles as they're drying out the fields, and we can see green septic systems and dried out spots, or the ones that are working versus not working, and we look for discharges. If we don't know or we're not sure, and we see a ditch and we think there's a discharge, we'll dye test the system. We'll flush dye down the toilet, and we run water, and we wait. I found dye over 900 feet from home going out into the Pinconning River years ago. That person was made to correct that. And it took me 3 tries. I had to do it during a rainstorm because sometimes sewage will go out, say, into a farm field, and it dissipates. It never makes it out of an outfall. Eventually, it finds its way to a ditch, but how do you find them? Sometimes it's not that day. Sometimes if we suspect it, we have to go back. We have to dye test. It's time consuming. But it's through training and looking at the right things we can determine what's going where. And if not, if there's questions, we keep looking. We can do water tests and sit there and run water over and over and over, but that's time consuming too. So it depends on the site, and we'll have a protocol when we go out on steps on what we do and what we look for. Some systems, it might take us 30 minutes. Some of them might take 3 hours to find everything. And sometimes we can't find everything, but we make the best attempt we can. And if we find a failure, and a definition of failure, there's 42 definitions in the state of what a failure is, because there are 83 counties and 42 health codes. They're all different. A failure might be water above the outlet of the septic tank, but not surfacing. That's a failure. It could be water up in the stone in an old drain field. That could be a failure. Or it could be just surfacing on top of the ground. In Bay County, it has to be surfacing on the ground. It could be stressed out. You might have green grass. Is it a failure? Well, the system is in failure, but is it in violation? No. I'm not going to make you replace your septic system because there's no public health issue. There's not sewage on top of the ground. However, that's when we remind somebody, your system is on its last leg. Watch your water usage, start saving your money. You have a maintenance item that's looking at you saying you need to replace this or fix it or whatever they need to do. So there are different stages of failure and even the state code, they're playing around with what's the definition of a failure. And if the state code passes, it'll completely change how we do everything in the state. There will be probably mandated inspections so many years. There won't be point of sale. There are big money real estate that is preventing point of sale from happening and from removing all point of sale in Michigan. It's not a trigger. However, in the last version, if you guys are interested, I just had it sent to me last week, they're allowing health departments to do, this is if the new state code went through as it is written. We can do an inspection as a trigger from a point of sale, but that inspection can have nothing to do with the sale of the home, and we cannot require replacement based on the sale of the home. It's written really goofy, and so we're not stopping the sale of the home. And I have my own opinions on what we should inspect and what we shouldn't. And from your questions, it sounds like you're in favor of having a trigger of a sale of a home, and I agree. If somebody's buying a home, they should know what they have. If they have a problem, they need to know that before they purchase that home. Septic systems are not cheap. And it isn't fun for me to go tell somebody, you need a new septic system. And it's $10,000 later or more. It's a hard amount of money to swallow and to come up with. Is there help? There is some help out there, not a lot. Do we have a funding source universal? No, we don't. I wish we did. However we do it, we can for people, and we work with them. Sometimes they can do repairs, and we can get them by for a couple of years. They go and do their laundry at a laundromat. They can do a couple of things for $500, have them repair a couple of things, and then 2 years later, they come and get a permit, and then they replace the whole thing. There are things we can do to help people when they don't have money. So,
Commissioner Kuhn.
Just one last quick question. I'm assuming cumulatively, the septics are the biggest problem, but individually, we probably have some properties that are bigger than any septic problem. How is this program going to address that? That's not a septic. It could be a property other than a septic. We've got them on the Kawkawlin. You know what I'm talking about?
we're not going to map out anything outside of septic systems.
Well, this is just going to be septic.
So this is only septic. We're going to map the well, and a lot of the wells are already there. And I'll show you someday. I'll do that PowerPoint. I'd like to. As soon as the new tools are in, I'd like to showcase those and show you what this program can do. But most of the wells are already there. We're only going to map septic systems. The program has the ability to do more. The Road Commission's using the same program, a little different version, to map out all the drains. And they're mapping drains to within a centimeter of accuracy. We can only get within about 30 centimeters. The GPS units we need to buy are about $2,000. Theirs are about $20,000. It's a little much for locating a septic tank. 30 centimeters is good enough. But there is a mapping project going on through the Drain Commission where they're using it to find county drains, outflows, the lids, everything. So they'll have a complete inventory of that when that's finished. But the capability is there to do more.
Thank you.
So Joel, is there any educational portion of this grant that's actually gonna, we talked a little bit about it, how to maintain, your septic tanks. Are we gonna give them a pamphlet? Are we gonna talk them through that? Or how are we gonna do that part of the education part of it?
Well, part of the flyer that goes out, we'll give a link to a website, and on our own county website, and along with Amalgam, we'll have links to something called Septic Smart. And about 2 weeks from now, I think it's September, I don't remember the date offhand, Michigan has something called Septic Smart Week. And I have all the brochures and everything sitting on my desk. Some of them are already put out, where we have all the educational tools, pamphlets, papers to give to people so they can read and understand what maintenance does my septic system need. And I want to put all that online on our website so they can go to it and read it. When the flyers are sent out, and it's University of Michigan Flint will be doing that portion, they'll also have links to that. So the information will be available online at our health department, through the website, so different avenues where they can call us too and ask us. So we're trying to put more out there. Once the mapping is available for the public, we'll have links built into that also where they can see, how do I maintain my septic system? And they can go look at a map, they can take their cell phone, walk over their system. It's going to be really cool for them to say, oh, I'm standing on my septic tank. My phone says I'm right on top of it. And they'll know where it is. A lot of people don't know. The measurements will be there, and then beyond that, there'll be information built in.
But also to the point of, for those folks that don't have technology or don't have access to technology, one of the key factors that the sanitarians, when they go out, either A, do the inspection, or B, do a permitting process, is they talk with the homeowners, they get to engage with them and let them know how their septic system works, and all of the different components of maintenance that needs to take place as well. And we, on a quite frequent basis, field phone calls and inquiries about individuals' own septic systems. And the majority of the time, we talk people out of real expensive treatments that they think that they need and actually get them into more practical solutions.
Well, yeah, one of the biggest practical things is, if you go out and you pump your septic tank about every 5 years, you know, you're gonna increase the life of your system as a whole, especially your field. You know, I was talking to one gentleman that, you know, he was out in his backyard, you know, having his septic tank pumped, you know. And his neighbor comes over and says, "Hey, what are you doing?" I said, "Well, I'm getting my septic tank pumped. I'm taking care of, you know, maintaining my system properly." "Oh, I haven't had mine done in 35 years. Well, okay, that's, that's the type of thing that, you know, we need to be addressing. And like Joel mentioned, you know, we're somewhere from 8,500 to, in depending on where you're at, you know, 15,000, you know, for a new septic system, you know, complete tank and field, you know, depending on what type of soils you're dealing with, whether you can do an in-ground one or an elevated one or whatever you gotta do. So there's quite a cost to that. And, you know, the point of sale thing is something that, you know, we've, you know, discussed here in the past, and, you know, it would be a good thing.
It
You
would.
know, it protects the homeowner, because what you get is you get mom and pop to raise their family. They've been in their house 40 years, and their system works just great for them because they use, you know, maybe 75 to 100 gallons a week, you know, because it's just them. Well, they have a 4-bedroom house and they're going to sell it to this new couple that's got 3 kids. Now they're going to run 100 gallons a day through that thing. And the first thing that fails within the first week is they can't flush toilets and they can't do laundry because their septic field is you know.
Yeah, and you're exactly right.
And that's not a good thing to run into, so. And we are looking at some funding mechanisms that maybe we can get in place. And we do have a little bit of money too, I think, in a fund someplace.
I was going to ask what the balance in that revolving fund was. I believe one loan was made, I believe, out of it, but I'm not sure if you know what the balance in that fund is, or
It's not very,
I talked to
the revolving loan fund out of environmental affairs, there might be enough to do one small system, I think,
Right.
last I knew. It's
yeah,
not
no,
much
it
in
didn't go
it.
very far.
There's also the possibility of using some of the housing rehabilitation money, so money comes back in.
Right. So there's some different things that we're going to be looking at, you know. But, you know, I think it's a tremendous thing that we're getting this opportunity to start tracking this and be, again, a forefront runner in the state of Michigan and nationwide both. So,
Yeah, I'm excited about it. I foresee an increase in permits. I think there will be some self-reporting people that'll come in knowing that we're getting aggressive, we're going out looking and mapping, and I think people will start coming in and probably taking care of some problems on their own. A lot of people won't, but I can see an increase. Now, if we had a huge influx of permits and we doubled our workload, yeah, I could see where we may ask for somebody, another sanitarian. However, we'd have the money coming in to support it. We wouldn't ask for something we couldn't afford. So, and even in the beginning of this grant, we don't need any other people other than maybe some college interns. So we're not, and we have money built into the grant to pay for our wages. So part of it is already paid for. So the grant will actually help us out quite a bit.
right. And an average cost to pump a septic tank is somewhere around $175, you know.
Yeah.
Maybe a little bit more.
200, two and
Yeah.
a quarter.
And, but we're limited at the present time where they can dump it. They can only dump it in the Saginaw or Pinconning.
Pinconning doesn't receive anymore.
Well, they don't
No,
anymore.
they used
so-
to, they don't anymore.
Okay, it's only Saginaw.
Yep.
So we gotta work with our wastewater treatment plant here in Bay County and the city of Bay City's wastewater treatment plant to starting allowing those things to be done here to help our residents in Bay County and also keep
Yeah.
those dollars here in Bay County, so.
Yep. And some people, when I talk to them about pumping, you talk about the guy that says, I haven't pumped my tank in 35 years. We can't change their mind.
I know.
They still say, no, my system works fine. I put a dead animal in it 35 years ago and it's worked perfect sense. You know, that's just their mindset, and sometimes we can't change it. But then when the system fails, unfortunately, it isn't on them because they use that 100 gallons a week. It's the people that buy the house.
Right.
And that's where we do need a point of sale, or we need, and the assessment tools will show that that's a high level of risk. If the system was put in 1956, that will show a high level of risk. Somebody, a homeowner that goes in to buy that house can open up that program and look and go, look, this thing is at a level 5, it's high level, we better find out what else is going on here, because there may not be anything mapped. It might be a data point that says, you know, system is unknown, or the system was put in 1956, very little information, and it will be tagged basically as a high priority. And that's one thing the tool will do, is it'll allow people to go in, like, everybody knows what Zillow is, right? You go on, you can look at a home before you buy. You can walk through and see all the pictures. You know almost everything there is about it. Now you can do the same thing with a septic system. 3 years from now, you can go into Fetch EH and you can open it up and look at just about everybody as a septic, and you'll know what's there before you step foot on the property. And you can walk with your cell phone. Almost everybody has a cell phone, except for a few people still have flip phones, right? And they'll walk right over and you can find everything. So technology, unfortunately, you need the technology to do that. If you don't have the technology, if you needed a map, come see us, we'll print you a map and give it to you in color. And then they'll have all the measurements on it, and you can walk up. See
I
what's
do
going
have
on.
internet though.
So, well, that's good.
So, any other commissioners have any questions? Anyone else? Okay, thank you, Joel.
Okay,
Appreciate it.
thanks.
And we have a motion and support, right? Okay. Been a long time, I just wanted to make sure. All in favor? Aye. All opposed, same sign, motion carries. Thank you, commissioners, for your discussion. Next, we have the Director, Department of Aging, and approval of budget adjustments for congregate meals and NSIP grants.
Support.
We have a motion and support. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? Aye. All opposed, same sign, motion carries. Wake up, Bob. Equalization Director, under E, we have the L4029 2018 tax rate request form.
So, support.
We have a motion and support. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? Aye. Next, under Emergency Management Coordinator, we have the Emergency Management Performance Grant, the EMPG program for $25,096.
So moved.
Support.
We have a motion and support. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? Aye. All opposed, same sign, motion carries. Next, we have the Hazard Mitigation Assistance Program for the grant agreement.
So moved.
Support.
We have a motion and support. And I want to thank staff for getting this moving, because it's something that the county really needs, so. And it'll help in the future. So, any other discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign, motion carries. Next, we under G, we have payables of BAYANET, Center Ridge Arms.
So moved.
Support.
We have a motion and support. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed, same sign, motion carries. Next, we have the, under Finance Officer, we have analysis of the general fund equity. Motion to receive would be in order.
Support.
We have a motion and support. Commissioner Krieger.
Thank you. Under the correct 2018 budget, we talk about a maritime vessel. For some reason, I'm drawing a blank on what was the 18,000 dealing with the maritime vessel. Somebody can tell me just what that is, maybe Jan, can you help me a second?
It was with the purchase of the new sheriff's boat.
Okay.
I can't remember offhand exactly what it was, the funds were being put in there for, but
Well, I think it was our portion. Wasn't that our portion? We had a certain portion that we had to put forth for the grant to receive our new patrol boat.
Right, we had a match and we took that, that's it. That's it, I think that is it.
And some of that was covered by individual donations, and this was only the balance that was not.
This was our
correct?
portion on that boat. Okay.
I knew we had it.
On the middle.
yeah. It was the portion that wasn't budgeted to, so that we could complete the purchase of it.
Commissioner Coonan.
Being that we're looking at that report, maybe somebody can refresh my memory on the, it would be the third line down, previous year's assigned fund balance for designation to balance the 2018 budget. Now, looking at, it's a pretty big number. Did we use that number to balance the budget?
A portion of it is used to balance the budget, the other is the transfer ins and outs. So it just is a matter, if you look at the amount down below, it takes it back out. So so the fifth line down, the 2018 budget surplus,
Yeah.
it takes that number back out. It's just a holding position so that you see where the fund balance is actually held. We had $1 million, let's say it was $1.3 million that was used to balance the budget for 2018.
Okay, thanks.
Anyone else? Seeing none, all in favor? Aye. All opposed, same sign, motion carries. Next, we have H2, which is the Executive Directive 2007-11. Motion to receive would be in order.
So moved.
Support. Motion and support. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? Aye. All opposed, same sign, motion carries. I don't believe we have any referrals. I don't remember any unfinished business. Any new business? Closed session?
Not requesting closed session, Mr. Chair.
All right. Miscellaneous, anyone? Commissioner Brigade.
There's going to be a health and wellness fair on September 14th. Bay County Department on Aging, in collaboration with Bay County agencies and with a grant from Region 7 Area Agency on Aging are presenting the health and wellness fair. Bay County Community Center from 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. A free hot luncheon served from 12 to 1. Different vendors from Bay County, 911, Sheriff's Department, Mosquito Control, Health Department, Housing Commission, Community Recreation Center, and Veteran Services will be there. There'll be prizes and giveaways. And the Sheriff's Drug Take Back Program, pharmacist on site to take the medication in. Something for everyone. Oh yeah, by the way, it says, Bay County residents 60 years and better, I like that better part, not older, are invited. But others can come too, probably.
Gee, that means we can all go.
16 years and better.
Anyone else? Any announcements other than that one?
Motion to adjourn is always in order. Support.
There's a motion and support, all in favor? Aye. All opposed, same sign, motion carries.